Lesego Mateme advocates for the protection of young South Africans from the dangers of smoking tobacco and e-cigarettes. Through the South African Tobacco-Free Youth Forum, Mateme is lobbying for the Tobacco Control Bill to be passed to regulate the industry more closely. And Lesego joins me to talk about this. Lesego, good morning to you and welcome. You know, often you go out and, perhaps in a place where there might be sort of entertainment strip and you see these hubbly-bubblies and, young people smoking and so on. And it's become, at least observationally and anecdotally, I'm not sure what the research and statistics are saying this morning. It seems to be very much part of the subculture. What would you say in terms of your observations? And perhaps you can bring and share with us some of the research around the proliferation of smoking and the use of tobacco products amongst young people. Good morning and welcome, by the way, and Happy Youth Day.
Good morning. Happy Youth Day to the youth of South Africa as well. Thank you so much for having us. So you're very right. Trends in smoking amongst youth particularly has been on the rise. And we see this a lot. I see it personally when I'm going to work, because I work close to primary schools where you'll see a young person carrying a cigarette, but then also university students as well. Hookup types are part of our, party lifestyle. If you want to have a good time, there's going to be hookah day. And this is not something that is, shocking, because these have been branded to be part of our, our culture as well as young people, right? We see them at universities. Whenever we are at the lawns chilling, there is a young person or a group of young people huddled up near a hubby. The South African Medical Research Council recently just released some data on a study that they did on university students and their perceptions and, interactions with, various tobacco nicotine products. And it was found that close to 26.6% of young people used used e-cigarettes, right? And this is quite concerning, because but again, as I've said, it's not shocking since these products are everywhere you go, advertised in a way that is guaranteed to target the young eye. And yeah, there is a lot that needs to be done for it around it. And the South African South African Tobacco-Free Youth Forum, as well as Protect Our Next Coalition, have been trying to ensure that young people know what are in these products so that they can make more better informed decisions.
Well, let's inform young people then. Thanks, Lesego, for sharing with us, what some of the research is saying. And if there is, a statistical evidence around both the health, the health impediments to smoking, particularly hubblies and e-cigarettes, I'd love you to bring that to us as well, because in some instances it's seen as the healthier alternative, to cigarettes, and we can circle back to that one in just a moment. But talk to us about the information that you say is lacking and really should be really front of mind for young people, especially those who've never picked up, a cigarette or a hubbly or a vape before.
Definitely. So I think you have pointed out at the biggest, misconception, and one of the biggest problems when it comes to young people and them taking up cigarettes, right? These products have been branded as healthier alternative and less dangerous than cigarettes, and that is why a lot of young people have been taking them, right? Although of course the nicotine levels in vapes sometimes are lesser than those in cigarettes, these products are still dangerous, especially to children, and that's where they always end up, right? For example, I think it's also important to know that it took years and years for research to validate the fact that cigarettes cause cancer and cigarettes cause a multitude of these diseases, right? There were times where doctors would actually prescribe a cigarette if you had a headache. But then years came, and then we realized that people were responding very negatively to cigarettes. And that's why cigarettes right now are so unpopular amongst young people. So it's the same thing with e-cigarettes as well as hookah. These are products that are considerably newer, especially amongst young people. So we do not have a lot of, case studies that show how harmful they are, especially to our health. But then out of the research that has been, done so far on e-cigarettes and the health impact, we see that they cause a lot of various, illnesses. There is respiratory illnesses. There is a lot of young people who end up in hospitals. There's various case studies of young people who are in hospitals with lung failure because of e-cigarettes. So the misconception that these products are safer is very dangerous, especially when it comes to young people, adolescents, because for them safer means less not harmful at all, but then safer it's just a word that the industry uses to paint these products as less harmful, and less harm is still harm at all times.
There is a report from the South African Medical Research Council called Big Tobacco, Tiny Targets. You've quoted an excerpt from there, and it would make, I think, interesting reading, Lesego, for other people who, don't want to be emotionally moved from one position to the next and want to look at what is available statistically in this space. So where is that accessible before we continue?
Okay, so the study that I referred to at the beginning is actually a study from the South African Medical Research Council that focuses on university students, right? And the one that you're referring to now, Big Tobacco, Tiny Targets, is a study that was conducted by the South African Tobacco Free Youth Forum, SET5 for short. And then it is basically aimed at looking at how children and adolescents in high school and primary school particularly are targeted by the tobacco industry marketing and through marketing as well as advertising. So this study can be found on our website. It is uploaded there, www.set5.org.za, where all the findings, the fact sheet particularly is there, and listeners and viewers as well can engage with it.
And I really encourage people to do that. Let's go back to the marketing issue. And you reflected on the fact that my generation then, when we probably grew up in a time where we would see cigarette billboards and there were these cool characters that looked like explorers and adventurers. It was, if you wanted to enjoy life, you would do it with the cigarette in tow. And the contemporary answer to that type of marketing, again, presents this as a fun social activity, less harmful in many ways. And what was so interesting in the research was that it looked at the impact of marketing, and that young people who were more exposed to the marketing were twice as susceptible to then going on and trying out the products and then potentially becoming addicted. So again, share with us what you found out about the efficacy or effectiveness of those marketing campaigns.
So marketing is it's something that is very, in terms of how its success, there's a book, right? An easy book that marketers use in terms of like luring in people, right? And we see this as well with, how the tobacco industry markets their products. The only problem is that the marketing tactics of the tobacco industry are geared towards the young person, right? For example, the Tiny Targets study, we found that a lot of, vendors who sell the products, they place them at the eye level of a child, right? So this is at a level where a child can see these products and interact with them. A lot of these vendors have posters that advertise these products, and these posters are always very illustrative, very, colorful, and they're very appealing to the young eye. Most of these vendors also sell these products next to sweets and, confectionaries and crisps, right? So there's also that thing of an association between how if this product is next to sweet, then it can't be that bad. But additionally now, what we've seen is that these products are being advertised at pharmacies. And if a pharmacy is a place where you go to seek medical help, you get a pill or medicine when you're sick, having these products there validates the misconception of them being a health product. So it's important, though, that marketing is something that is like regulated, especially when it comes to tobacco products, because we realize how much it lures in young people, right? The way in which these products are placed is very, very, attractive to young people. And that's why the South African Tobacco Free Youth Forum, again, as well as the Protect Our Next initiative, we are championing the tobacco control bill, which is currently in Parliament, which would ensure that the overexposure of these products to young people, right, in terms of marketing on social media, marketing at stores, is regulated to, the best at which it can be, so that young people are protected from these products.
I'm surprised, Lesego, that you say, some of these, and I'm assuming then the vaping type products or the e-cigarette products are available in pharmacies. Is that true?
Yes, you can find them in pharmacies. There are some pharmacies that wanted to sell these products, but also I do believe, I think I may be corrected, that there are pharmacies, again, that have went against having to sell these products because they understand the implications of that. But these products are found everywhere, even on your Uber Eats apps. They're everywhere, and then it's it's alarming.
So just talk to, kids at home, your peer group, people on campus and in schools who are part of the so-called cool culture doing this, in a language that they can relate to. We've spoken the language of statistics and science. We've spoken about the advocacy work that you're doing, which I think is important. You talked about the advent of new legislation to try and provide more guardrails when it comes to this. But You know, I was young not too long ago, and I would do whatever I wanted to do. And, you know, especially when I was told not to do something, that's the thing. And I think it's pretty similar intergenerationally for your generation as well. So how do you begin to break that down and get young people to think in a more personal and critical way about their own health?
Thank you so much for that question. I think, as you said, something that is so cool, going against it, especially like something such as tobacco products, which is so popular, going against it, especially when it comes to young people, is quite difficult because you sound like you're being a parent. But then the main thing that I feel like for me, as a young person, always grabbed my attention was the fact that the decisions that I'm making today, you know, are going to impact me in the years to come, right? And then the things that I love today can be how I continue with them and how I do them is affected by the decisions that I make today. I say this because, for example, a lot of young people like things such as, you know, your soccer, you know, you like being active and you enjoy spending time with your friends. But smoking, abusing smoking, that is, tobacco products, nicotine products, will have a negative impact on your lungs in the long run. And this will, in hand, you know, have a negative impact on how you perform in these things that you like. So the most important thing is to know that, you know, being cool is something that, you know, when we're young, we always want to be part of the cool group. But then at the end of the day, that is never really worth it, especially if it comes at the expense of your health, right? So it's important that you always make decisions that are going to benefit us as opposed to the decisions that are going to potentially kill us. I hate to say that, you know. So I feel like also in terms of the spaces that young people are, the environments that young people find themselves in, I mean schools, I also mean like playgrounds, they need to be, you know, conducive, and they need to be, allow young people to not be able to engage in these products. So I think it's important that young people know that the decisions that we make today are quite important in who we become. And if we look at our history of South Africa, yesterday we were observing, you know, Youth Day, where we were celebrating young people who stood up and, you know, made the greatest impact. That's our purpose as young South Africans, I believe, to make sure that we have, you know, we make the greatest impact. We speak out against things that are wrong, and make sure that we, you know, we tilt our country towards, you know, the most greatest country that is. And then that's young people who can do that. So instead of, you know, trying to be cool, let's try to be impactful and change South Africa, because it is our South Africa. We are the generation that is going to be here dealing with the consequences, in the years to come.
And maybe being cool of a different kind and still being impactful, you know, it doesn't have to be a choice between the two. It's about redefining what cool really means. Lesego, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for your time this morning. Lesego Mateme is with the South African Tobacco-Free Youth Forum. Don't know if he swayed you, if you are watching this with a, you know, a little something in your hand. Hopefully it has, as you heard there, you know, some real concerns when it comes to health and the impact. Still ahead, we will talk about the intergeneration of politics, or the intergenerationality of politics in South Africa, with South Africa's youngest politician, Fasia Hassan, who was also a frontline member of the